chose Morehouse because of it's the school's mission to develop men. I chose it because of the brotherhood.
Morehouse has a legacy of creating strong, influential black men with role models everywhere, and I know that Herman will be one.
The reason why I chose Morehouse is because of the leaders that they produce and the leaders they graduate.
It's an exciting time, and I know like the world is their oyster, and Morehouse is gonna just do great things for our sons, and I think they're just gonna do wonderful here. We're just so excited.
It's known for producing fine young black men, so I'm gonna be in Morehouse. And also my mom went to Spelman's and her Spellhouse brother.
This place that speaks to the world about a social consciousness on purpose. Are you ready? Are you ready for the next level?
Good evening, and welcome to Educate Our Youth, Morehouse College Virtual Tour. My name is Janet Thompson. I'm your host, CEO, and co-founder of the Mamie Keith and Aline Bradley Educational Foundation, also known as Educate Our Youth. The mission of Educate Our Youth is to make college more accessible through education, mentoring, personal development, and any other means available to students by offering programs such as SAT, ACT, college tours, assistance applying for financial aid, financial literacy, young entrepreneurship, and athletes over academics. Our guest this afternoon is Mr. Michael Gumm. He is the Assistant Director of Admissions from Morehouse College. And joining us today is also Dr. Winston McIver, a graduate of Morehouse College. So gentlemen, how are you this afternoon?
Great. Doing well.
Good, good. So listen, Michael, give me a little history about Morehouse.
Yes. So Morehouse was founded in 1867, literally 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, in the bottom of a church known as Springfield Baptist Church in Augusta, Georgia. We later relocated in 1889 to this small, into the area that you see today in 1889, where now that comprises of Morehouse College, Spelman College, Clark Atlanta University. And it was actually Friendship Baptist Church that we relocated to, where the Atlanta the Atlanta Benz Stadium is now. And so, you know, they now have the Atlanta Benz Stadium at the time where this church was, but at the time we were being educated to become preachers and teachers. And so now we fast forward, and now we offer 33 majors, 7 divisions, just an amazing institution that was a land grant given to the college. So, yeah.
Oh, wow. Beautiful history. So tell me, with all that history, what does it mean to be a Morehouse man?
Man. And so I smile every time I hear that, because at Morehouse, there's an expectation. The idea is that you're going to come into the college and you're going to do exceedingly well. But it's not just that factor, right? We literally understand that with the mission statement that's in place, that we are going to develop men with disciplined minds who will lead lives of leadership and service, but that component of understanding character and how one's character is developed to be able to take that notion and to really run with that in terms of who you are, right? And so coming to Morehouse, you are defining yourself. You're defining yourself. And then from there, you have that expectation to help redefine the world. And so it's more than just going to college. It's about recognizing who you are. And I think we do that, you know, the very best. So why Morehouse? You know, if you look at the college itself and what it comprises of, we're the only school of our kind. No other school exists in the same way. And we recognize that, we understand that. And so we're special in that way. No other school can state that they would graduate 400 to 500 African-American men each year, right? In the same place, same location, with that same goal that you're going to do exceedingly well. And so we take a lot of pride in being the only institution of that kind.
Oh, great, great. So Dr. Mack, will you tell us a little bit about your experience at Morehouse?
Well, you know, I don't even know where to begin. It was one of the greatest decisions I've ever made in my life. Okay.
A lot of very prominent people have come through Morehouse. One of the prominent people, Dr. Reverend Howard Thurman, had this saying that Morehouse holds a crown over your head, and it challenges the students to grow tall enough to wear it. So just like Michael, when I was at Morehouse, I actually was a recruiter as well. Back then, the organization was called Stripes, and Dr. Sterling Hudson was the admissions director at that time. So I would go out, and recruit students to come to Morehouse as well. My story to Morehouse is really interesting. I was actually a basketball player, and I was actually play basketball in college. However, I remember when I was in the 6th grade, I went to freshman week, and after going to a freshman week in Morehouse and Spelman, that stayed in my mind forever. So for me, it was 6 first cousins that either went to Morehouse or Spelman. We were from different places, from Albuquerque, different places, and we all decided we were going to go to college together. We actually had 2 houses in Atlanta that we stayed in once we got into the junior year. But for me, Morehouse helped shape me. Morehouse helped mold me. One of my mentors, one of my heroes, Dr. Benjamin Mays, who's from South Carolina, coined the term Morehouse man. So it says a lot, it denotes a lot, and there are a lot of expectations when you graduate from Morehouse College. And just like I stood on other people's shoulders, I'm here for other people to stand on my shoulders. But I advocate Morehouse everywhere I go. I'm still connected. As a matter of fact, I'm lecturing to the biology department in about 10 days. So,
sounds good.
I'll be talking to the students in the biology department for the biology seminar. So I still keep in contact.
Sounds great. So Michael, let's talk about the admission process to Morehouse and the testing optionals.
Yeah. So what does it take to get accepted to Morehouse? Your very best, right? Morehouse is holistic in nature in terms of our recruitment process. We ask our students to apply early action, some of our serious students. And Dr. Mack, just a side note, students recruiting interested persons for enrollment stability.
There you go.
I got you. I know.
You're impressing me, but I expected nothing less.
Look, and Sterling Hudson, when I first graduated Morehouse, he gave me my first job coming out of Morehouse.
Right.
I was hired straight on, and I'm so thankful for his legacy. 27 years with the college.
Yeah, very instrumental. Yeah, he accepted me, and like I said, very instrumental. But you're right, Stripes,
yes, sir.
Yeah,
yes, sir.
Enrollment stability.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So what does it take to get into Morehouse? Your very best. We ask our students to apply with a transcript, test scores, letters of recommendation, essay, all the same components like most other institutions. Here's the difference, though. We understand that at Morehouse, we have an amazing focus, which is to offset the prison system, which is to get the right kind of student into the college. And with that notion, we're looking at everything when it comes to a student. We're looking at how they set themselves apart. It's not enough just to say, okay, I took AP courses, right? And you're going to get a scholarship.
Right.
But we want to see, what kind of AP courses did you take? What kind of academic rigor do you have, right? We actually read the essays in the admissions process, and we look at letters of recommendation. We're Common App exclusive, and I want to make sure everyone's clear. Right now, the only application to apply to Morehouse is Common App. So you would go to www.commonapp.org, submit an application, submit your transcripts, submit your letters of recommendation, submit your essays, and from there, hit the submit button on the Common application, and from there you would be able to get your decision done. Perfect. And let me say this too. Morehouse for the class of 2021 has decided to go test optional. And so with that notion, yes, what that means is we're not going to allow the test, your ability to not take the exam, hinder your opportunity to get accepted into Morehouse.
Okay.
But I would say this, there are some scholarships though that do apply, that it's very important that you understand they are requiring the ACT or SAT. There are some scholarships, but for merit-based scholarships coming into Morehouse, we will not hinder a student based on the fact that they didn't have the ability to take the exam. So this can be an amazing space for some students, and it can be an amazing space for students who have taken the exam. It just depends on how you look at it. So its early action is November the 1st. So November 1, you want to get your application in. Okay.
Right.
And once you get it in by November 1, you will be notified around the time of December the 15th. So right before Christmas, you'll get that amazing letter. And I'll never forget my letter. I ran around my high school building at least one lap. I think I went two once I realized I was admitted into Morehouse. And that was the only school I applied to. So I tell students all the time, don't do that unless you know. And so you did that? Yeah.
Same thing. The only school I applied to.
Yeah. I'm just saying, once you know, but I don't give that advice. You know, you want to have a list, have your list, but at the same token, if you know that you want to go to Morehouse, there's no doubt. I definitely want to make mention that my twin brother graduated Morehouse with me, and I have an older brother who's the class of 04. So it sits home for me too, Dr. Mack, in terms of family legacy. I have a cousin that graduated from Morehouse who done amazingly well, majored in business. Both of my twin brother and my older brother are in the education arena to this day. And so there's just some amazing opportunities. Once you're admitted into Morehouse in terms of scholarship, you will be notified at that point. So every application is reviewed that is, get this, completed. So we need a completed application. So once once it's completed, at that point in time, it will be reviewed for scholarship. Okay. And so that's how that works.
Oh, good. Okay, so Dr. Mack, we appreciate you joining us this afternoon. You want to hang out with us, or it's up to you?
Well, I want to say one more thing, and I'm gonna kind of get in the background.
Okay.
You know, Morehouse is it. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you how it's impacted me. I'll tell you this real quick story. It has to do with me going to medical school. Morehouse back in the day had, and I don't know if they still have it now, they had this thing called Morehouse 2020, where Dr. Blocker at the time would invite 20 medical schools and 20 undergraduate schools to come. I'd already graduated from college, and this is the pull of Morehouse now. I'd already graduated from college. I was living in Atlanta, and in Charleston. I went back to Charleston. I came back to Atlanta just for a weekend, not realizing it was the weekend of Morehouse 2020. I just happened to be on campus when Mahari was there. The mission director, and this is a crazy story, true story. I showed up with jeans on, a t-shirt, and sandals. I had no idea he was there to interview me. I was at the table. Had I gotten to that table 5 minutes earlier, 5 minutes later, I would not have interviewed. I was standing at the Mahari table. He said, "I'm here to interview Winston McIver." And I'm looking around like, huh? He interviewed me and accepted me on the spot. That is the power of Morehouse. I didn't even have to go to Nashville. They came and interviewed on the spot. But because I did well at Morehouse, the acceptance was on the spot. Just like Morehouse, Mahari was the only medical school I applied to. I don't advocate I don't advocate that at all, but that's what I took. But when you go to Morehouse and you do what you're supposed to do, you will get what you want. You get out of it as much as you put into it. And I hate to sound biased, but I don't know any place else that can do that. And I'm
but also I like to say for you, what God has for you is for you. So you're supposed to go.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. But for Morehouse, though, I think that I have to give them all the credit. Yeah, Mr. Gumm, Mike, it's good to hear you. I was excited when I heard you were going to be on.
Yes, sir.
You know, I'm great. I love this. Janet, I love it. I tune in and catch the shows when I can, and you're doing a great job with this. So keep up the good work. And this is beautiful, wonderful. Go Morehouse Maroon Tigers.
Thank you.
Yes,
Have a good
sir.
evening.
All right, thank you.
Love
Okay.
it.
And to our audience, if you have any questions or comments, please post them. And you can also join us on Facebook. Excuse me. Okay, so Michael, what are the top programs at Morehouse?
Yes. And so I could go on and on. You know, Morehouse is a 4-year private liberal arts institution offering an array of different majors. And, you know, we're well rounded. And in fact, we like to say we're well balanced. We offer
Right.
English to history to sociology to psychology, business, you name it. But if I can point out some of the top majors at Morehouse, or at least some of the popular ones that could catch your eye, our business major is top notch. If you're interested in business, the Fortune 500 companies, a lot of our students get those opportunities there. We also have a lot of different businesses and graduate programs that come to the campus to recruit our students. So by their junior year, they already know where they're going. About, you know, there's a high percentage of students that majored in business that have been able to study abroad. So that's really, really awesome too. And so, you know, their experience is just well-rounded. You know, the other thing is that, you know, business, you know, you have 4 concentrations. You can go into management, marketing, accounting, or finance. And so it's totally up to you. But again, you have this array, right? And they take a class called policy. And my gosh, I was not a business major, but I could tell you, for those who do business, they know. And so again, you know, and to kind of let you know again about the sort of the clout of the business program, our guys had the opportunity to not only go into business, but what's really amazing is that they've been able to find themselves not only working for the Fortune 500 companies, but then helping their brothers out. And so they give back. And that's what I love about what Morehouse does. So I remember being in a meeting, as an example, and I was doing an information session presenting on Morehouse, and there was a group of Morehouse men that were like around, and one Morehouse man started, one alum started, and he said, yeah, I'm right now working for this company. And the other one started, and he was working for the same company. And another one started, and he was working for that company too. And they were just years past each other. And I asked the question, how did you all end up working the same company? And he said, well, I went and I got him, and then I went and he got him. And I mean, and that's the beauty of it. And so business is one. Our engineering program, we have an amazing engineering program. It's dual degree engineering. You do 3 years at Morehouse and then 2 years at an engineering school of your choice out of 16 schools. So Morehouse has connections. And so when you look at Georgia Tech, MIT, Dartmouth, just some amazing schools, you could graduate with 2 degrees, one with the Bachelor of Science degree, but with the other with the Master of Science. And again, you'll graduate within 5 to 6 years with 2 degrees.
With 2 degrees.
And then the other popular major, and there's several, but the other one I want to point out is our CTEMS program, which is Cinema, Television, Emerging Media Studies.
Yes.
Yeah. A really, really interesting program. Hasn't been around for numerous years. I think it actually started maybe in 2012. But that program is not even it's not even a full school, if you will, but it's just a program, but it's getting recognized as if it's its own school. And so our guys have had their work submitted to Sundance Film Festival. They have found opportunities to go to NYU and New York to do internships. I mean, the cast from Black Panther actually did some stuff and worked with some of the team over there. So underneath the development and the amazingness of Stephanie Dunn and the group that she's around, Morehouse is just looking really good in that media facet. And remember, Spike Lee, right? Graduate of Morehouse College, right?
Samuel Jackson.
Right? So acting is there for us.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And those are just 3 to point out.
Right. Now, you mentioned the business program. I have one of my favorite girlfriend. We grew up together. Her grandson just graduated from Morehouse, and he already had a job waiting for him. I think he's in Texas, if I'm not mistaken, working.
Okay.
And so, and that company will help him receive his master's. So it's
Yeah.
very promising, very promising.
Absolutely.
So how does it take a student, what's the percentage of students that graduate in 4 years from Morehouse?
Yes. So because we have the 5th year and 6th year component with dual degree engineering, because they'll have that opportunity. When you take in that element, you're looking at roughly around 55 to 65%, almost 70 when you take in the 5 to 6. But you know, a lot of times I think the graduation rate says one thing, but the truth is, when you come into Morehouse, and if we can, you know, as the rise of cost of institution and schools increase, it's very important and very imperative that that we have students that have the opportunity to not let finance become an issue, right? And so when you look at what Morehouse is doing now and the connections that it has underneath our president, Dr. Thomas, and what he's been able to construct and create and merge relationship, you know, Morehouse has seen new money come in. And that's the beauty of it, is that that money is being fostered in many ways to help students through their financial problems and issues. And so we're seeing that. We're seeing that. And so academics is not necessarily our major issue as much as it's a financial issue, right? Morehouse for our demographic can be very daunting. You know, we're talking $48,500 a year or a little more than that. And so it's just, how do we get the level of cost down? And I think that has a big impact, you know, as inflation is going on in the US as well.
Well, I had the opportunity while working in higher ed. I worked through a TRIO program for educational talent search. And one of my students, I was able to work out an agreement with the department. He needed a summer enrichment program because I think his SAT scores wasn't as high. His GPA was pretty good, but he had low SAT scores. So he had an opportunity to go to the summer enrichment program and then start that fall as a freshman. So and that really excited me that program was available for kids that had, you know, passing the SAT or getting a high score on the SAT. Does that still exist?
It does. Yeah, you're referring to what I believe is the pre-freshman summer program at Morehouse. Also known as PSP. And it is. It's a way. And actually, Morehouse has had in this past year, the program has altered in 2 ways. One, it's segmented. So there's one that's just based on a student's performance based on their merit. So if they've done extremely well, it's an opportunity for them to advance. And the other is that bridge, right? That bridge program where it says, you know what, my test scores were not up to par to the standard of Morehouse. Or my GPA, and man, I had a hard freshman year dealing with so much other things, but somehow, some way, this committee saw something else in me. And now I get a chance to prove myself through the summer, right? And so they get up to 3 credits, 2 or 3 classes to take to show themselves approved. And they had that opportunity to do so. And so, at Morehouse, that program still continues. And, you know, I can actually attest that's an amazing program to be a part of, because, you know, even if you come for the bridge part of it, you still have the opportunity to advance at a lower cost than what's typical. You know, to come in the first year, and your financial aid can be applied to assist with that. And so, you know, for those students, we make the recommendation for them to go into the program based on the committee's decision as well.
Okay. You mentioned earlier when applying to complete the application and an essay, is auditions included in that? Do y'all do auditions as well as essays?
So we do interviews with that. And the reason, again, is not everything is seen. You know, there's only so much that the paper documents give us, right? And so if there's something else, a student has the opportunity to submit an app called ZME. And based upon that, if they put the application in for ZME, that's a way that we can get a chance to actually see them as well. And so that's a really, really good part to it as well. And so there is an interview opportunity for students. For that. And so they would just submit submit a video that displays them answering our questions. And from there, we're able to see how they assess themselves and what they actually mention. And that can tip the scale depending on what's being stated. Yeah.
Right. Are students mandated to stay on campus for 4 years, or do they have off-campus housing?
Yeah, so they're mandated to stay for 3 years.
Okay.
So freshman to junior year, and then they get the option to stay off campus, unless there's some reason that is validated. To be honest, Morehouse students don't really want to leave the campus because you're in the inner city.
Yeah,
so you have
right.
Right, and being in the inner city, you have the MARTA station to get your transportation going. You really don't need a car like that.
Right.
In Atlanta, typically you do, but again, everybody's trying to get to that part of the city.
Okay.
And
right.
so with the AUC and being surrounded by that, it's really awesome.
Okay. So can students have cars on campus?
So students can have cars on campus. What we do is we ask them to obviously register and to submit their documentation as necessary. And I know that there's been cases of freshmen having cars too. And so there is a way that even freshmen can drive on campus. But again, with you being on campus, a lot of parents are like, look, you're gonna be right here. There is no reason you need a car your first year.
Right.
And I'm an advocate that your internships, your opportunities, they lie right there.
Right. Right. Yeah, being in a city is a lot of fun. So, when we toured the campus, I think they said they have so many classes you can take at Spelman, and some of the Spelman students can come to Morehouse. How does that work?
Yeah. So what's really, really awesome is this ability to cross-register. And so when you go to Morehouse College, you have this opportunity to actually take classes at Spelman College, Clark Atlanta University, Morris Brown College, the Morehouse School of Medicine, ITC, and all the other institutions within the AUC. And so what's the beauty of that is that you forget you go to an all-male school at Morehouse. So you can go and take classes at Spelman. In fact, I remember being a student and taking a lot of my philosophy classes over at Spelman College as a philosophy major. I also took some philosophy classes at Clark Atlanta University. And the beauty of that was I was taking graduate level courses on the undergraduate level. So it made me a lot more versatile. And my resume looked a lot stronger because I was able to say I was in a master level course, or I'm in a doctoral level course. So that's the beauty of it. So yeah, students have that opportunity, but they have to be smart.
Okay, you have to be what now? Will you repeat that?
So I was saying that students have the opportunity to cross-register and take classes at Spelman College as well as Clark Atlanta University.
Okay.
And with that opportunity, you can find yourself even amongst some of the Georgia schools based on being a transient student. You can actually take classes over at Georgia State and Georgia Tech.
Okay. Okay. So how does Morehouse compare to other institutions, HBCUs and non-HBCUs?
Yes. Okay. So that's a great question. So being a part of an HBCU, there's a cultural dynamic that we know about. There's this sense of love. There's this sense of not only that you are going to school to be educated, but you're also getting to know who you are. Those, that age, that tender age of 18, right, to 24, that's the young person developing themselves. And when you come to an HBCU, you're going to get that level of push that just comes. You're going to get this level of love. And I think in the HBCU arena, it just offers that camaraderie, right? And I think we see this when you graduate, right? And when you come around and someone says, oh, you graduated? I graduated Morehouse too, right? Or man, you graduated Hampton, man, I'm a graduate of Howard, right? And so there's this sense of just love that just lasts a little bit different. It just looks a little different, right? And it's not to say that a PWI can't give that to you, but it's just something about being in that space, right? Being a part of this cultural aspect that makes you really want to fight for things and to go out and do more, because these schools gave you an opportunity first. And so you understand that, right? And it's not to say that you can't find yourself going off to graduate school at a PWI, but I just believe that it's important to really understand who you are And I think that there's individuals that have graduated, Black folks that have graduated from other institutions, but yet maybe that character hasn't really been developed as it needed to be. And I think an HBCU just allows you to have that upper edge.
I think HBCU has a sense of belonging, you know?
Yes.
It's a whole different culture at HBCU when compared to other non-HBCUs.
Yeah.
So I know you had a football team because Denzel Washington's son was on the football team. So how is your football team?
Man, that's a great segue. One thing is that, you know, Denzel Washington, class of 06, coming out of Morehouse, you know, David Washington Jr. You know, he was in the film Ballers, right? The show Ballers. He was in some other films, right? And we see this amazing actor. But this is a testament to Morehouse, right? Because in many ways, you know, the well-roundedness is real. And we see the well-roundedness all throughout, that you can find a student that's in music that later goes into medicine, right? Or Dr. Mack played basketball, but yet he went into medical field, right? But to talk about the football team, you know, first off, we're Division II SIAC. And so we're being in our division, we play some amazing schools. Clark Atlanta University is one of those schools, and that's probably one of the biggest rivals based upon the fact that we're a part of the AUC and we're so close to each other. You know, we take a lot of pride. You know, the Panthers, they got their pride. The Tigers, we got our pride, and it's really cool to watch and witness. But our football team is actually really amazing. You know, I think a lot of people might ask the question, why do I come here to play football? Well, why do I go to an HBCU to play football, right? And the truth is because even though you're a football player doesn't mean you don't want a sense of self, right? And I think that when it comes to sports, you can stand out at an HBCU if you're not going Division I, you know? And so if you think you got the clout and you could be highlighted, you might want to do that. Class of 06, class 2010, a big guy by the name of Ramon, he graduated from Morehouse College, and he was drafted, I believe, to either the Vikings or the St. Louis Rams, one of the two. And you know, came out of Morehouse. And so there's opportunities for NFL play. You know, there's opportunities to do other things. You know, you might say, okay, well, I'm interested in this. I'm doing kinesiology. Well, I might want to go into the sports arena and study. You know, you might not want to go pro. So there's just different options and opportunities. But I think when it comes to our sports, you know, Morehouse is definitely a recognizable school. I can't talk about football without talking about track. And if we look at the amazement of Edwin Moses, who was an Olympic track star that won consecutive year after year after year, right? I mean, it's just, again, there's individuals that stand out in the sports arena too.
So you have track, football, basketball.
Yes. Yeah. So golf, lacrosse, cross country, tennis, baseball team. We have a new volleyball team that was just recently established in the past, I think, past 2 years now. And so, you know, we offer rugby. You'll be surprised what Morehouse offers. And it's pretty cool.
Marching or concert band?
Both.
Both. Okay.
Yeah, both. And you know, since we bring up music, let's talk about the Morehouse College Glee Club too, right?
Yeah.
So,
great gospel choir, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, you know they go. So I think our Glee Club is a part of that gospel because I'm telling you, they can sing. Those brothers also travel, and there's scholarship money for that too.
So are there scholarships and athletes for band, athletic scholarships, band scholarships?
Yes, those are considered our talent-based scholarships. And so what typically happens is a student will be accepted first typically. And then from there, they try out for those different arenas that they're interested in. They send in tapes, they talk to the coaches, and then they get back with us. And then from there, those coaches then will offer scholarships that would then be put on their award letter or indicated on their financial student account record. And so we'll let them know if they're receiving the scholarship or not.
So tell me about Chapel.
Yeah. So we call it Crown Forum in one entity. And so Crown Forum, the concept comes, like Dr. Mack said, that Morehouse holds a crown above our heads and hopes that we grow strong enough to wear it, right? And so the concept comes with Howard Thurman, who was again class of 23 from the college. He was a famous theologian, famous theologian, world
Okay.
renowned. And as a graduate of the class, he thought it was important that Morehouse men not only had this sense of scholarship, right, but that they were trying to define that character and trying to mold that sense of focus of who you are. And so, Crown Forum allows our students to be exposed to amazing figures, phenomenal leaders, phenomenal speakers, world-renowned speakers that come to the campus and they speak to you as Morehouse men. So we see that in a Cornell West. We see that in a Michael Eric Dyson. We have Honors Day Crown Forum. We have the Otis Moss contest that happens each year where, these guys get a chance to compete and speak fluently about the Morehouse expectation. So it's really awesome.
Oh, wow. I bet it is. I bet it is.
Every Thursday at 11 o'clock. It's like a required class.
Oh, really? Okay. So you get to learn a lot from that, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm sure. So one other question before I let you go. Let's talk about the academic support and support for administrators, registrars. I'm listening to Dr. Mack talking. It sounds like a child don't go liking, a student don't go liking when attending Morehouse. But give me a little scenario of academic support from Morehouse.
Yeah. Well, we have this what we call new student experience.
Mm-hmm.
Or this, for a lot of freshmen, it could be daunting coming in.
Yeah.
It can be daunting. Some of our guys come in and they might have been only the top 10% of their class, right? Which is really, really great. Some of our guys come in and, they came from rural areas. Some of our guys come in and, they made up maybe 2% of the entire school in terms of Black population. So when you talk about that, the surrounding areas and where we are, it's important to foster that sense of self and character, but then also it's important to teach our young men about where they are, their surroundings, what they should be focused on, and start to really develop that sort of leadership. And so we work heavily on that. And so our guys, so when you talk about the first year, our staff members, our faculty members, we work for the student. We are constantly willing and eager to help the student. In fact, the first year experience, there's a gentleman by the name of Dr. Davis. He is focused just on that initiative of helping first year students navigate Morehouse College. And, I think with the way Morehouse is not just staff and faculty, right? But I see it more so from the student perspective. It's student to student driven. Students are helping students. Students help students navigate. And it's by nature of the way the place is developed and way it is.
It sounds very strong. The foundation is very strong among the students. Well, Michael, you have shared some interesting information. You've been very informative about Morehouse. And you know a lot about your school, which is a good thing. I appreciate you coming on with us this afternoon. I have one grandson, and he lives in Covington, so hopefully he'll grow up to attend Morehouse and become a Morehouse man. I would love that. Yeah,
well, look, it's never too early, so let me get to him. And, we can discuss some things and go in detail about the college. It's never really too early.
But right now he's just interested in cars. He's just 4 years old. So, but we'll start him. Well, listen, I enjoyed you this afternoon, and I hope the viewers did too. I appreciate it. And I would like to tell everyone next week our guest will be Dr. Jessica Green. She will be discussing working with our students during this pandemic and how to help them cope in the classroom and doing virtual lessons. So again, Michael, thank you for coming out, joining me today.
Thank you. Thank you so much, and you have a great one.
You too. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.